Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today, we're finally returning to Quo. It had been a while since a new Quo channeling had been posted to the llresearch.org website. That's why we've been doing some Arcturian Council readings, but I'm excited to have a new channeling from Quo. Quo is a group of higher density beings that channel information regarding the law of one and answer questions of a spiritual nature. And I have found their channelings to be very powerful and relevant. They carry an energetic quality to them. I'm excited to read this one because in particular, they ask a question about the I am discourses in this channeling. Also, they focus on solar phenomenon. The topics covered are significance of coronal mass ejections, making spiritual use of solar phenomenon, solar energy as instigator of biomechanical changes, previous inspired works contributing to the formation of a third density social memory complex, whether one's catalyst is sourced internally or externally, an intercessory request to support an instrument in her medical difficulties, embracing the joy and bliss in each moment, and then using adonai, vasu, borragus as a mantra, spiritual principles and teaching and learning mantras as well. This channeling was delivered on May 11th, 2024. We begin with Jim channeling. I am Quo, and we greet each of you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator of which we are all a part, an integral part, for the creator is all things. Without you, the creator would not be the total creator. We see today that there are many, many open hearts within this circle. In fact, each heart is open to us, and thus we feel the great honor of speaking to whatever these hearts have to ask of us in the way of those questions which are within your spiritual path and which offer you a chance to accelerate that path in the love and light of the one creator. We would suggest to you, as we are answering your queries, that we have only the opinions to offer that are ours, and we offer them freely, so that they are not infallible. So we suggest that you weigh them carefully before you accept them. Leave behind any that are not acceptable. In this way, we feel that we may speak in a more open and expansive fashion to your queries, and perhaps serve you better as you serve us by thinking of the fallibility that is possible within the answers. At this time, we would ask if there is a query with which we may begin. Yes, Quo. I would like to ask about the wonderful display of lights we experienced last night. Our scientists and our weathermen tell us that this was a coronal mass ejection from the sun, producing electromagnetic frequency disturbance and disrupting our communications, and so on and so on. Students of the Law One, however, might wonder, as I wonder, was this a message from our logos, a communication to our planet? Was there any spiritual significance to this event last night? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my brother. You asked a query which is very interesting not only to spiritual seekers, but to us as well. For our sun, as you call it, the sun that shines upon you as you move into the daylight and go through your daily round of activities, is an entity of the logoic variety which contains within it all of the densities of the creation through which each of you moves back into unity with the one creator, and through the logos of love do so. These events of which you speak are of a periodic nature and are truly of spiritual nature as well. They are rhythms of being that the logos, the sublogos, and all of its children have a path to follow that has an opportunity of being accelerated upon the spiritual level. When one feels the energies of these sunspots being able to move through time and space in relatively zero time, so that they reach the spirit of each seeking soul, each seeking spirit, and enlighten that spirit, that soul that seeks to know more of who it is and why it is within this illusion that you call the third density. This type of enlivening has to its purpose the magnification of the desire, the faith, the will to seek more assiduously, more powerfully, more continuously for those answers that the soul has, as what might be cannot. We correct this instrument as what might be called pre-incarnated choices, as well as free will choices made within the incarnation, that tend to expand in the nature of one's being more and more as the seeking is practiced and as the answers are found. For as you move further and further within your own being for these answers, this type of solar flare can accelerate that penetration of the mystery of the third density illusion, the mystery of yourself, who you are, how you are, why you are. This is the great journey. And these types of solar experiences are periodic, as gifts, you might say. You have what you call the Christmas time, the birthday time, where gifts are offered periodically. This is a great gift, both of your birth as a greater being and as that type of being which has as its goal the unification with all other beings around it. And also, with the one inquiry, we correct this instrument with the one creator within each being, and the creator that exists within all, with the creation. This is the great journey with the periodic accelerations that you have experienced this previous night. Is there a further query, my brother? I'm not sure I can think of anything. Well, wait a minute. Throughout history, cultures have called to the sun. They have worshipped the sun. They've seen I'm thinking of ancient Egypt, I'm thinking of South America, a calling to the sun as one source of life, of spirituality, of caring. Was this anything like we experienced last night? Could we use this experience to magnify our connection to you and our connection to the Creator? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my brother. This is precisely correct. This experience was one which, as we have previously said, was something that is periodic in nature. It is a gift that may be given to those who seek such gifts, the realization of the nature of oneself, the purpose of one's journey, and the acceleration of that journey. So this is what you have described as the solar eclipse, the solar flare, the solar power that exists within each entity and can be magnified by the experiences which were had the previous night. Is there another query at this time? No, thank you, Quo. I am Quo, and we thank you, my brother. Is there another query to which we may respond? I have a question, Quo, building on your previous answer regarding solar energy. I recently received information, and if this applies to me specifically, then please just disregard this question. That the information was that this case is going through biochemical changes related to fourth density transmissions. And that information, it occurred to me that it was not just specific to me. If that in fact is the case, Quo, would you please comment on how these biochemical changes are manifest in our behaviors and our social constructs? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my sister. These that you have called biophysical changes are types of transformations that each entity is able to take advantage of when there is the desire within the heart and the mind to move in a more pure fashion on the journey of seeking and serving the one Creator in all beings around one. For this is a means by which the heart is further opened and the mind is further expanded to balance the love of the heart with the wisdom of the mind as it moves further and further into the mystery of one's being. These biophysical changes are, shall we say, symbolic representations of the greater nature of your being as you open to the universe around you that is manifested by those you meet in your daily round of activities. And as you meet them and feel their presence, you love them with unconditional love, that which simply gives by your being. And if there is an opportunity to actually manifest that love in a physical, mental, emotional sense, or in any other way, then that service is the manifestation of such biophysical changes. These changes are a part of every spiritual seeker's journey as it moves more and more into unity with the one Creator, symbolized by those about you, so that you are now moving into a more transformative phase of your life experience. That you will become what you could see as larger in your spiritual grasp of the purpose of your life experience. This is the way that your changes may be expressed within your being, like seeds within the spiritual desire of the faith and the will that you experience and express in your daily round of activities. Is there a follow-up query, my sister? Yes, Quo, thank you. These changes can occur. It sounds as if it's a process, not a willful process, but the conditions that are existing through this process, if that's correct, does this affect our chemical, genomic DNA condition? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my sister. This is indeed the case, for as your mind, your body, and your spirit change, these changes are enhanced by your opening to them, seeking them and using the biophysical changes that you have mentioned as a means of accelerating the seeking of the change, the manifesting, the expanding, and the making more personal and powerful your own journey of seeking both within yourself for more meaning of who you are, and without yourself for more meaning of how that you is expressing itself in the world around you. Thus, you could say that your DNA is being multiplied in a fashion which gives you more opportunities for transformation. You are becoming, through your own faith and will, a greater being that has the opportunity to share the love and light of the Creator more fully and freely with those about you. Is there a follow-up query, my sister? Thank you very much, Quo. There is no further question, thank you. I am Quo, and we thank you, my sister. At this time, we will transfer contact to the one known as Austin. We are those of Quo. I am Quo, and with this instrument at this time, we express through this instrument the joy that we feel to be called to your group and to join you in vibration as you come together. We are aware that most within this group, and any who become aware of our words, can liken most aspects of the creation to vibration. From our perspective in time-space, this vibration is particularly apparent in an almost visual sense. And so when you gather together, not just within this present circle, but as seekers that span your planet and are called to our words, call for our aid, we can see very much in a real way the light generated by this joining together and calling together. And at this time, this calling generates a great bubble of light around your planet that we find most inviting and able to utilize to join you and to partake in processes and acts of service such as we share with you at this moment. And so we are grateful and happy to join you as brothers and sisters upon your journey as we travel on our journey. At this time, we would ask if there is a query to which we may respond. In the I Am Discourse of Saint Germain, they seem to have a number of speakers being channeled by Mr. Ballard in the 1930s. In some of the discourses, they speak of octaves and even of Venus blessing the earth. My first thought was that Ra might have been associated with this work. However, a lot of what I and other seekers read and practice has the theme of all is one. Are we forming a third density social memory complex over the last 100 years or so? Can you speak to the level of our awareness? I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my sister. Within the types of information referenced within this query, you can see several sources and types of influences, including those that may seem to be other than you as a social memory complex, but also those which can be called, as you have referenced, your own social memory complex. For within this bringing forth of this information, there was a calling out similar to what we referenced in our prelude with this instrument. And such a calling invites many, many sources of aid, and those from many places in the creation who wish to offer their light and their love, including those who have evolved upon your planet and have taken home within the inner planes of your planet and have chosen to work with you as a planetary population. And in doing so, as those involved with this group set out the call, indeed we're able to form connections and aid that group in tapping into what you might see as the unrealized social memory complex and help to bring some form of coherence to that social memory complex. This act of calling and receiving and bringing forth this information to share with those incarnate upon your planetary sphere indeed does help to orient the spirit of your population in a way that makes it more able to receive messages of unity, harmony, love, and healing. Indeed, in many ways, the service offered by those who brought forth this information and offered this information were planting seeds and creating configurations within your planetary mind that helped to lay the groundwork for other groups, such as those who were able to make contact with those of Ra and bring forth even more refined and poignant ways of sharing this ever true and ever present reality of the law of one, of unity, and of the love and the light of the one infinite creator. As those of Ra stated in their contact, the information that they came to offer was simply a different slant upon information that is always and ever the same. And you may see the truth of this statement within the presence of that material referenced within your query. In those materials brought forth at a much earlier date, as you would say, and even further back within your past, you may find the seeds of this truth of unity, of oneness with all of creation present in most efforts of spiritual seeking. It is the same message that we wish to offer to you here, within this circle, and in every circle in which we join you. It is only ever the love and the light of the one infinite creator in new configurations and novel expressions. Nothing that we offer can truly be new, for it is all an aspect of the same one infinite creation. Is there a follow-up to this query, my sister? No, thank you. We are Quo, and we thank you, my sister. Is there another query to which we may respond? Well, if I could ask another quo, to what extent does the catalyst I encounter in the spiritual speed bumps I run into, to what extent does this come from outside of me? I realize that sometimes I make bad choices and I might have unfortunate habits that cause me problems, but I'm really wondering, to what extent is it my shadow self causing these challenges, or is it beings that take advantage of these chinks in my armor, for instance? We are quo, and we are aware of the query, my brother. We find this an interesting and particularly useful query to reflect upon. We're in groups such as this that partake in spiritual endeavors that garner a sort of charge of polarity. There is a dynamic that presents itself to those seekers in which the inner distortions and the inner life of those seekers can become amplified and projected in an even greater way than those who remain within the sinkhole of indifference and do not take upon themselves the responsibility and the honor of taking part in spiritual work and acts of service such as this, and those that you have chosen to take upon yourself and your own journey. You can see this amplification as an increase in the light that can flow through you as a mind-body-spirit complex, for you are calling upon yourself more light to be brought forth into the space-time reality in which you have incarnated. And in doing so, the distortions and unseen aspects of the self within you become more pronounced in how they are expressed as this light moves through you and into your reality. And so we can say in primary response that in a very real way, most, if not all, of those aspects or speed bumps or catalysts that you encounter are generated by you as a mind-body-spirit complex, and your unconscious and unseen distortions and wounds and aspects of yourself that remain hidden from your view. However, this dynamic does have another layer that becomes even more relevant when a seeker such as yourself chooses to partake in magical acts of service, and that the calling does indeed invite presences and intelligences that can recognize and utilize and feed off of and amplify those same distortions that have already been amplified by your projection of light outward, and in doing so can create a more difficult situation for you as a seeker to grapple with. There are many reasons and motivations for the various types of entities to do so, but the primary way that this would manifest to you as a seeker is that these difficulties that you identify as catalysts are more difficult for you to grapple with, seem to throw you off balance in an even greater way, seem to turn your attention more away from a hopeful future or a hopeful outlook for yourself towards a more restricted and hopeless outlook. This is a primary attempt to cause you to cease your seeking efforts to return to the comfort of indifference. In many cases, we find this effort can be successful or even cause even greater distortion for the seeker if such offerings are not brought into the heart and understood in a light of acceptance and love, and shared with the friends and the family and the fellows who have joined you upon this journey. In bringing these difficulties to light and expressing them and sharing them in an atmosphere and a mindset of love and acceptance, you offer the love and the light of the Creator to this catalyst, so that it might be transformed and bring you into a greater awareness of what it is that has generated this catalyst within you. And so this brings us to the ultimate source of the catalyst, whether or not it is amplified by an external entity or your own internal workings. Whatever the source, the ultimate resolution is to offer love and acceptance to bring the light of the Creator to that catalyst and to work with it and not attempt to shove it away or ignore or set it aside, but instead seek within it those gifts of self-awareness and self-love, that which it is attempting to offer to you, so that once it is transformed, it may no longer be a roadblock or a difficulty for you, but instead become a boon for you upon your journey of seeking. Is there a follow-up to this query, my brother? No, Quo, that was wonderful, thank you. I am Quo, and we thank you, my brother. At this time, we would take leave of this instrument and transfer the contact to the one known as Gary. We are Quo. Gary channeling. We greet you in the love and in the light of the one Creator. We are those known to you as the principle of Quo, and we visit each in this room or we correct this instrument with the compassion for that which you carry, that which burdens you, that which visits you in the small moments, in the private moments. It is a difficult terrain to walk your world, and we wish you could, but see how noble and true your efforts to seek the light when you cannot readily always perceive that light. Your intentions, my friends, are that which shines and burns incandescently in a difficult illusion. At this time, we would ask if there is a query to which we may respond. We are those of Quo. This is not so much a query but a request, and if all of the Quo entities could go to our loved one Trisha and just send her guiding love and helping her to see the beauty of her body even as she struggles with it, I think everyone in this group would appreciate anything that you could do, Quo, to help Trish. We are those of Quo, and our hearts flutter with genuine compassion given voice from you, our sister, in service to our mutual friend, the one known as the Trisha. Indeed, if we could help her, as we would help so many to lift up the vision from that which does not see, to behold the true self as a being of infinite light, as a being even upon the incarnational level who is designed to be imperfect, designed to experience difficulty by the self's own hands, that the self may learn more of the self and the Creator and have more opportunity to serve. That would bring us the greatest joy to be able to facilitate this awakening within the heart of each. But self-realization is the work of each, and we will be glad to take up your request and beam the love and light of the One as we know it to that fair angelic entity who carries much hardship in her heart, and as this instrument knows separates herself from joy not infrequently. We thank you, our sister. Is there a query to which we may respond? We are those of Quo. Quo, I have a question to sort through up on that one. Could you give us any guidance on how to more thoroughly and readily embrace the joy and bliss that is around us in each moment? We are those of Quo and be glad to speak to the subject, as from our perspective, it is a funny one, as the entity whose true core nature is one of joy ask us how they may embrace and experience and touch into this joy. The entity asking the question is the point to be investigated. Who is it to that is doing this asking? Who is it that says joy is not present in this moment? Who is it that has arrived at this moment and found the moment not to its liking, found cause for dissatisfaction with the self, or with circumstances, or with other self, who has found resistance within themselves through the free flow of being themselves, of being? As you were describing earlier, our sister Big, of letting the energy expand and dance and intermingle in free and blessed movement that is more organic, shall we say, representation of movement and the beingness of life. In the inevitable, natural, and indeed intended confusion of your plane, each has found small dreams and sub-dreams to attach to identify with, to cause oneself trouble with. Each one has done this for most part unknowingly. Thus one finds oneself upon third density plane struggling with this thing or that, hemmed in, unable to see beyond such a closed and consuming box of awareness. We may say that for all intents and purposes, such modality of beingness, of smallness, becomes default, becomes reality, becomes who I, the seeker, am. That these confined and cramped quarters within generate the suffering, this is pervasive in this world. Many not understanding the true origin of this suffering, which arises within the self, who then seek to solve that suffering through means that will never truly relieve and dissipate the experience. For that suffering is the call of the self waiting for the conscious mind to exercise those gears of acceptance and forgiveness of self that will unlock and awaken and give room for the inner being to expand, to sing, to be who the self was and had been and forever is all along. That self which was hidden from the view due to the structure of the costume whose threads are made with various beliefs and experiences, injuries and misapprehensions with which the incarnate itself has identified. Joy is not a state to be manufactured. That is, it is not a recipe which results with just the right amount of tweaking of your illusion, the gaining of enough money, the landing of the right job, the perfect amount of the vacation. We do not mean to denigrate those needs of the mind and body. It is rather that joy is intrinsic to reality itself. No particular circumstance creates it. It transcends the limitations of circumstance and may be present in the deepest outer darkness, for it is not of space and time. It is simple. It is humble. It is waiting to embrace each in gratitude for the journeys that you walk. That is the birthright of all beings within the universe. Indeed, for one who has stopped blocking, The joy one finds that it lives within the rocks, within the trees, within the movement of the waves, and the shimmering of the light upon the sea, in entering into the vibrational state, which may be described as joy, one sees that the world sings and prays in thanksgiving to the One, not seeking to abolish the experience of being the tree or the bee or the sea, but grateful for this particular and unique manifestation among a universe of particular and unique manifestations. It is the joy of existence, the joy of being alive and aware, the joy of having an experience, even and including difficult experience. It is not that which is earned, it is that which is accepted. May we ask if there is a follow-up to this query, my sister? We are those of Quo. No, thank you. We thank you, my sister, and at this time we would leave this instrument with gratitude for the service and transfer our contact to the one known as Jim. We are those of Quo. I am Quo, and am again with this instrument. We would ask if there is a final query at this time. Yes, Quo, thank you. There is a question from our friend Jay in Germany, and if there is energy afterward, there's a quick follow-up too. Jay asks, a mantra has, by the means of its component Sanskrit words man, mind, and tra, vehicle, the function of freeing the mind of undesirable states and rendering it into a position where it can create its desired, at best transcendental, state of consciousness at will. Mantra recitation works through and with repetition and the deepening that is involved. Could it therefore be spiritually helpful to also recite the sound vibrations adonai, vasu, and borragus, or any other phrases of the confederation as a mantra or prayer, as for example in adonai vasu, adonai vasu, adonai vasu, adonai? I am Quo, and I am aware of the query, my brother. It is our belief and personal practice at your level of the third density experience that any mantra may be utilized for enlarging one's spiritual perception of the purpose of the mind, the body, and the spirit to move along a path of unity, and to not be distracted by those experiences within the third density illusion that would take the attention away from seeking the one within each entity as well as within the self. Thus, a mantra may be utilized with whatever terms are meaningful to the one utilizing the mantra. The words are vehicles of power, given that the entity using them has the desire, the will, and the faith to travel its path more intensively and single-mindedly with whatever words are chosen. Most mantras are chosen by various sects of experience and historical processes that could be described as religions or means of unifying various groups of entities that wish also to travel a path in a certain fashion that is seen of relevance and personal power to each member of the religion or the philosophy. Thus, the mantra is that which has a power that is given to it by many years of use in each of those groupings of people, religions, or philosophies. There is, as we had just mentioned as well, the ability to utilize one's personal choice of mantra that can become even more powerful than the one which was chosen by the group, so that the personal dedication of the use of the mantra of personal value is doubled in its kind of efficacy, making the mantra into a visualization of personal power, spiritual power, of traveling a path of service to others. Is there a follow-up to the query, my brother? Yes, thank you, Quo. Jay asks, are there any spiritual principles I should consider when teaching, learning mantra meditation to other spiritual seekers? I am Quo, and I am aware of the query. My brother, it is our suggestion, which may not be the most effective for each teacher or student, that the mantra that is chosen to be taught and to be learned is that which builds upon the basic principles of the unity of all of the creation and the personal perception of that unity in a manner which is of individual expression and power, because it comes from within one's own heart of being, where one has an individual perception and interpretation of the nature of the one creator that exists within the self, and may be seen and felt within all other selves when the mantra is chosen to manifest this personal identification and reflection of the nature of one's own reality. This is a personalization process, which is seen also as the way that all spiritual seekers of truth travel their path back into the unity with the one infinite creator. For there are as many paths of service to others as there are entities wishing to travel them. All exist within certain what you may call guidelines or practices. But the means of expressing the practices and the thoughts and the desires are of a personal nature that expands the power of the mantra and its purpose of focusing upon returning into unity from the seeming separation that each spiritual seeker feels within this third density illusion. At this time, we would thank each entity here within this circle of seeking for lending their love and their light to each other and creating a circle of love and light and unity that moves in harmony with each seeker's spiritual journey, moving as spokes of a wheel rolling through infinite time and space, making aware all that travel with them to path that is the great work of each entity, not only within your third density illusion, but within all of the creation, for the creation of the one infinite creator is composed of nothing but the one infinite creator returning to itself in a greater knowledge of itself due to the experiences of each within the self. At this time, we shall take our leave of this instrument and this group and thank each again for the love and light that has powered this group this afternoon. We are known to you as those of Quo, Adonai, Vasu, Borragus. So it was really wonderful to read the words of Quo once again. Beyond anything else, I love the language that Quo uses. I can't explain it, it's like Shakespearean. Particularly when you read it, you can feel the energetic quality of it. This particular channeling talks about a variety of topics, including solar activity and spiritual significance. Quo discusses a recent solar flare event, describing it as a periodic spiritual gift that can accelerate spiritual seeking and enlightenment, and they suggest it helps magnify seekers' desire, faith, and will to seek answers about their purpose. They also discussed biophysical changes related to spiritual growth, and they explain that seekers undergo transformations as they progress spiritually, which can manifest as biophysical changes even in our DNA. And these changes are described as symbolic representations of spiritual growth, helping to open the heart and expand the mind. When asked about the origin of spiritual challenges, Quo suggests that most catalysts come from within the seeker, arising from unconscious distortions and hidden aspects of the self. However, they note that external entities can sometimes amplify these challenges, especially for those engaged in spiritual or magical work. Quo discusses how joy is intrinsic to reality itself and not dependent on external circumstances. They suggest that experiencing joy involves accepting one's true nature and releasing limiting beliefs and identifications. They claim that mantras and phrases of the Confederation can be spiritually helpful, and they emphasize the mantra comes from the user's intention and the specific words that they use and is specific to them. The question about the I am discourses was improperly asked. I wished it would have been more simple, just asking about the I am discourses, but it became a discussion about social memory complexes. But I would say from that answer, they are saying that that was a credible channeling, as best as I can interpret it, that it has helped to facilitate the expansion of the social memory complex since that time. I'd love to know your thoughts. Throughout the channeling, the primary thing is Quo's emphasizing themes of unity, love, and the spiritual journey back to the one infinite creator. And they're always encouraging us to embrace our unique path while recognizing the underlying unity of all creation. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com, and welcome to The Reality Revolution.